fought the rest, now try the best!
The TWT season is almost over. 2025 had some ups, it had some downs, it had madness all over because of the current state of balancing. Early on, Anna was all over the place. Really, it was just Arslan and the Pakistani guys doing great work. We saw them dominate Evo Japan and Evo Vegas and Evo France. Who actually won Evo Japan again? I can't remember. But Ulsan did a great job this year winning EWC. He did it last year. That was phenomenal. We had so many ups, we had so many downs. Also, this is a year for Asuka. Asuka players are doing great. The character's doing great. You have Yoshi still making waves in small ways, not big ways. Even in season 1, when he was much stronger, when he was much more powerful, he still wasn't dominating the TWT. But this time around, he's a little bit more balanced. No one is putting him in the top 5 or even top 50. Well, some people are putting him in top 10, but the character is a little bit more balanced, but he's still getting a lot of great performances all year. We see iMusician, Sin, Kane and Trench doing great work. You have a couple of other characters who are also making splashes as well. We know now the tide is starting to shift towards Claudio, towards Lydia. Characters, the pro players are constantly adapting. They're constantly trying to find a new meta. I even hear Kaisuke, the most legendary Kazuya of Tekken 8, has dropped Kazuya in search of greater things. So players are moving around, still trying to secure points, still trying to make their way, still trying to win. And so far, we have only 3 major events until the season is over. Now, dojos and like smaller events, I really won't cover that in this video because the Tekken global leaderboards only allow for 20 people to make it in. If you're not one of those 20, better luck trying to get on that regional leaderboard, which is kind of difficult to do so. And also we know that some regions or players within those regions are cheating. So pick your poison. Go up against some of the most deadliest players on the planet to try to get into the globals, or go up against cheaters trying to get onto the regional. Arslan and Atif is currently holding on to the 1st place and 4th place on the leaderboards, followed up by Mogold, who's been using Claudio, doing crazy work. We know Claudio to be one of the strongest characters in the game now. And then you also have John Ding, which is playing Eddie. Now, even though Eddie isn't talked about as one of the strongest characters in the game, me personally, I think he is. I think he's kind of underrated. But John Ding is securing a 3rd place spot. And then you have Nee in 5th place. Even though Nee is kind of seen to be struggling here and there, this year around, he's looking much stronger. And his Brian Fury is much more deadly. Now, even though those guys have the top 4 placements and are at the top of the global leaderboards, they're still not 100% safe. Later into the video, I'll talk about what the developers are doing this time around to make the top 4 placements a little bit more spicy. We know Arslan Ash also is trying to break a record. To my understanding, no one has ever reached 3,000 points, and Arslan currently is at 2,620. Now, as for everyone else, when you look at 5th place all the way down to 20th, these guys are still in the heat as well, and they're going to need to show up to these last 3 tournaments and really battle hard, because these last tournaments are some of the most stacked tournaments of the year, and everyone is trying to get on these leaderboards. Everyone's trying to get on the regional leaderboards. And then, like we said before, you have 1st through 4th place battling. So I know the way that this leaderboard was done this year was a little controversial, but now we're seeing what the developers had in mind, where all the players, no matter what part of the global leaderboards you're on, are still showing up to these tournaments and are still battling, competing for spots. Not top spots, but all of the spots are in high contention. We just got past Clash of the Olympians, where we seen Farzin wins, Kakoma came in 3rd, Gosane came in 4th, Eddie, Tabatino, Sin, and then Kira. A lot of these names that you see here are not on the top 20 global leaderboards, which means their victory, their top 8 placement, is pushing them closer to that top 20th spot. A lot of these guys, especially the ones in 15 to 20th, have to battle to maintain their spots because there is killers who are, there's sharks who are trying to steal the spot. And their opportunities to do so will be across 3 events, and their opportunity to do so will be at 3 major events that spans 2 weekends. One of those events will be Emirates Showdown. Now, there's going to be a lot of people here all just trying to play, get some action, but the names that you really want to pay attention to is Fergus, John, Usama, Book, Kudans, Hafir, Roth, and Yordies. These 8 names that you see are players who, if they place in top 8, some of them have to place in top 3, will have enough points to boot someone out of the top 20 leaderboards. And now, if I was one of those guys at the top spot and I was looking at Fergus with the Oscar or the John with the King, I would be sweating. And I would be also going to this tournament to make sure to play spoiler to ensure that these guys cannot get far. The farther they get, the worse it is for you. And to really highlight how stacked this tournament is going to be, some of the other names that you will see at this tournament is Arsalan Ash, Farzin, Lohai, Gosain, King Ray Jr., Newman, and you have a couple of others. What you will notice, a lot of those names that I mentioned are Pakistanis and they're very good players. You also have like Saints, Kudans, and Lohai there as well. So you have Koreans, Pakistanis, a lot of the best players on the planet. Some of these guys are going to try to gatekeep. Some of these guys are going to try and maintain their spots, and some of these guys are trying to play spoiler. Apart from this Reddit post that I want to read for you guys, it says, this is one of the most stacked tournaments of the year with top players from 2 of the strongest scenes, Pakistan and Korea. The potential for a shakeup is also very intense because Usama gets enough points this weekend and even potentially next week at Tiger Uppercut, he will qualify via the global leaderboards, as this will open the slot for Muhammad to qualify for the Pakistan global regional leaderboards. So you see how this can shift. You have a regional leaderboard player trying to get a global leaderboard spot, and that will open up the regional leaderboards for his teammate. This is how intense it is, and this is how perfect everyone needs to play if you want you and your allies to rise up. Aside from points, Lohai plus Kudans versus the Pakistan Ahmad will be extremely exciting to see as the next arc of their rivalry. Another potential matchup can be revenge between the John and Gosain after the Ivory Coast robbery. There are also 250 competitors from across the unrated Middle East scene that could surprise the different pros. This will be exciting to watch. Another tournament that's going to be happening as well, this is B Pro Cup. And at this one, you will have Kakoma, Pena, CBM, Book, AK. All of these guys needs a little bit more points than some of the others, so they need a top 8, top 3, or a victory to claim a spot on the top 20 leaderboards. And since there's so many Pakistani players going to Emirates Showdown, this one will be more so a Korean event. You have Ulsan, Ni, Mogod, Manja, Kokoma, Chikaran, Book, Chanel, AK, Pena, and Rekka, all here in force trying to either once again play spoiler, maintain a spot, or maybe even free up a spot for one of their allies. And also, side note, it never hurts to get a little bit more experience. We know a lot of these guys are shifting characters from like a Lydia and Asuka. Even if you aren't in need of points, it still helps to just go here and get some experience, because you don't want to take a 2-week break and then go into the finals and be super rusty. It says the players with the most to gain is Kakoma, and with a major contingent of Japan and Korea Armada laying low for this weekend, he has a good spot for making TWT finals if he performs this weekend and next weekend at Tiger Uppercut. Now it says battle for the top 4 in the TWT. The other unique thing about this year is how the top 4 global leaderboards get to bypass the group stage of the finals in Sweden. So the top 4 that we just talked about don't have to participate in the tournament. They could just bypass all the way through. Some people were upset because they get a free pass. Others were upset because they want to battle through. They don't want a free ride. They want to earn it. You already know who that is, Arsalan, right? Arsalan said he wants to fight his way through and he doesn't want to take a day off while the others compete. Once again, talk about getting rusty, sitting in the crowd watching while everyone else is still active and playing. To continue reading, it says, so this is something players will be fighting for extremely hard as well. Arsalan and Mogod are pretty much guaranteed to be in the top 2, while the remaining players below will be fighting to guarantee the last 2 spots. So this is why Ni is still traveling. This is why Ulsan and some of the others are still traveling, because they can also be kicked out of their guaranteed spot. So the 6 players to watch out for there is Farzin, Atif, Ni, Lohai, Ulsan, and Chikaran. And you can see which tournaments that they're going for. Half is going to Emirates, half is going to B Pro Cup. Now, if you notice, I did not mention John Ding's name, and this is because he doesn't seem to be participating in either of these events. And with that being the case, knee and Atif is that much more likely to push him out. So whether or not he's going to Tiger Uppercut and will try to secure his spot that way, that is to be seen. But so far you have these two tournaments, which is going to be the decider for a lot of people, because all of this is going to clash into Tiger Uppercut. And once we get that far in, yes, you can still see some major points go back and forth, but you're going to have a huge upset in order for that to happen. Someone is going to have to win the tournament outright.